The story that I have for you today is Pumpkin Jack. And Pumpkin Jack is written and illustrated by Will Hubble. That means he wrote both the words and drew the pictures. And Pumpkin Jack is from the genre realistic fiction. Fiction because it didn't really happen. This story didn't really happen, but it's realistic fiction because the people in the story act in a way in which it makes it seem like it would have been real. When Tim carved his first pumpkin, it was fierce and funny and just perfect. A jack-o'-lantern this good deserved a name, so Tim gave it one. Jack. Long after the best trick-or-treat candy was eaten, Tim still kept Jack. At night, when a candle made Jack's face dance on the wall and filled the dark with warm pumpkin smells, Tim felt Jack was almost magic. Yes, too soon, that spell was broken. This pumpkin is beginning to rot, announced Mom. It's time to throw it out. Tim knew it was useless to argue. He carried Jack to the garden, which was filled with the brown ghosts of last summer's plants. A dead garden is better than a trash can, thought Tim. Still, it made him sad to leave Jack outside alone. Whenever chores or play brought Tim to the garden, he looked at Jack. Every time, Jack was different. He became wrinkled, and his fierce smile began to look silly. Do you remember a few weeks ago when we had the vocabulary word withered? His face started to get wrinkly and withered. Mold spread over Jack's bright orange skin. As the days turned colder, Jack grew flatter. Winter began. Soon Jack was hidden beneath snow, and Tim forgot about him. The cold, heavy jacket days came, snowman and sliding days, indoor days, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Valentine's. When all these days had passed and the March winds melted the snow, Tim found Jack. Do you think he's going to look the same? There wasn't much left, just a faded and crumpled pumpkin skin, a stem, and a few seeds. Jack's Halloween magic was a distant memory now. Tim scraped the thin blanket of earth over his last bits of pumpkin. Goodbye, Jack, he whispered. When spring turned barefoot warm, a tiny sprout appeared where Jack had been. Tim found it and guessed what it was. So when he brushed the dirt over those pumpkin seeds, he was actually planting those pumpkin seeds. And now he's got a pumpkin sprout. In the days that followed, Tim weeded and watered and watched the sprout. Slowly and steadily, the plant changed and grew. It branched and spread a web of vines over the ground, but no pumpkins appeared. The days turned hot. Flowers opened on the plant each morning, yellow stars that twisted shut forever in the afternoon. Still, no pumpkins. Finally, Tim found a green ball growing behind a crumpled blossom. A pumpkin! Tim let out a whoop and ran to show his mom. By August, the plant had spilled onto the lawn. Tim's favorite game became pumpkin hunting. He carefully waded among the leaves, searching for green pumpkins like hidden treasures. School began again and days cooled. Tim had less time to visit the garden. When he did, the pumpkin plant seemed tired. There were a few leaves now, and the old tattered ones no longer hid the fat green pumpkins. Then one October morning, Tim woke to see frost coating the garden. The frozen plant seemed to change to a pale blue glass. And frost is when every morning when you get up, the grass is just a little bit damp. There's a vocabulary word too. A little bit wet, a little bit damp. And when it's really cold outside, that morning dew, that wet, damp water that's on the grass, it turns to frost. So now they've had their first frost. After school, Tim discovered what the frost had done. The pumpkin plant's leaves were as limp and wet as paper. It was dying. Tim searched among the withered leaves for the unripe pumpkins. He picked them and put them on the front porch, hoping for one more change. And they're starting to turn orange, right? By Halloween, the pumpkins had ripened to bright orange. They were many, for the plant had been generous. Tim was generous too. He gave away all but one. From jack-o'-lantern to seed to pumpkin again. The circle was almost complete. Now it was time for Tim to do his part. He gave his pumpkin a face. It smiled at him in a fierce and funny way. Tim smiled too and said, "Welcome back, Jack." That story, realistic fiction, because it could have happened. People acted in a way that was very real. And it also told the story about the life cycle of a pumpkin.